The kind of teachings that we hear in most churches these days will probably not take people to heaven. And I am worried because this was not the kind of gospel that Jesus preached. This was not the kind of gospel that the apostles preached. See, some of us, we need to read up about the death of the apostles, how they were killed. Some of them were beheaded. Some of them were crucified upside down. Some of them were fried in oil, like John, the apostle. They went through the tragedy of death. And when you turn on the television today or go on internet and see the kind of message that some preachers are putting out in this generation, I am worried. I am worried. I am worried when you, as a preacher, you are telling people that no matter what they do, that their future sins, no matter what people do, that they are already forgiven. No sense of responsibility on their part, no sense of accountability, no sense of discipline, no sense of self-control, no sense of boundaries and caution. You are telling somebody, as a man of God, that no matter what they do, that their sins are already forgiven. And that once born again is always born again. Once saved is always saved. That people can even backslide and they are still saved. That the sin I commit is not who I am. That if I commit sin, it's my body that committed the sin and not my spirit. That my spirit is already saved and my body is different from my spirit. These are the kind of demonic, dangerous teachings that is going on today around the world. And I begin to wonder, what kind of teaching and what kind of gospel did Jesus preach? And he was crucified by church people. Do you know that church people killed Jesus Christ? Most of you don't know that Jesus was killed by the leaders of the church, by the high priests, that's the bishops of the time. They killed him because he was preaching the truth. I want to tell us, now listen, let me tell you. If you're a man of God and you are not holding people accountable for their sins, you are telling people, come as you are, and you don't tell them, but you cannot stay the way you are. You are not holding people accountable for what they are doing. They can do whatever they do. Their future sins are forgiven. They can be saved and also be living in sin. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they do. That's not the message that Jesus died for. Jesus did not die for me to be irresponsible. Jesus didn't die for me to live in sin. Jesus didn't die for me to take advantage of his grace. He died for me. The Bible said, protect your salvation with fear and trembling. The gospel that made John the Baptist to be beheaded, they beheaded him. What kind of gospel was that? He was fearless. He spoke to power. He spoke to authority, and they beheaded him. Why are we scared to tell people the truth? Why are we scared of losing church members? Why are we scared to speak truth to power? Why are we scared to tell people that the soul that sins will surely die and go to hell? Tell them what it is. Now listen, let me tell you. When you tell my generation the truth, they will accuse you of being judgmental. People will always accuse you. People will always, listen, let me tell you, it's better that I speak the truth and people dislike me than for me to dilute the truth to please you. I cannot dilute the truth to please you. If you die in your sin, you go to hell. And God will hold me accountable. If I'm supposed to preach the gospel to you and I don't preach the gospel to you, and you die and go to hell, God will hold me. Your blood is on my hands. So that is why we have to preach the gospel. We have to tell people what it is. Let's stop painting the truth and, smooth talking people, sweet talking people, feel good message, telling people no matter what they do, that God already forgave them, and no matter what they do, they are already saved. That is not the gospel. The Bible said in the end time, in the latter days, before the coming of Christ, people will give heed to doctrines of the devil, demonic teachings, extreme grace, the kind of message that makes you feel that you are not responsible for the life you are living. You are responsible. You are accountable. And if you die in that sin, you're not going to heaven. If while in that sin the rapture takes place, you're not going. So live to please God. Live a holy life. Do the will of God. Put caution in your life. Put boundaries in your life. Who told you it was going to be easy? The Bible says that the way that leads to life is narrow. It's uncomfortable to live a holy life, but you have to do it. You have to please God. Your life should represent who Jesus is. When you give your life to Jesus, you cut off bad friends and ungodly friends, and you stay focused. You read your Bible, you go for fellowship, and you put boundaries around you to please God. Right? That is the gospel. We're not going to dilute it. We're not going to paint it in a way that it pleases you so you can feel good. You're not supposed to feel good about the truth. The truth is not meant to make us feel good. It's meant to change us. So I want to encourage you. Sit up and do the will of God. Live a consecrated life. A life that pleases God. And don't be carried away or deceived by the doctrines of the devil. Jesus is coming. The Bible said he's coming for a church without wrinkle or spot. Be careful. And sit up. Stop giving excuses. Some of us were giving excuses to live in sin, to disobey God. When you go to work, you discipline yourself and you do the right thing, right? When you go to school, you discipline yourself to study to pass. Why don't you discipline yourself to please God? Same thing. The discipline you bring to your job so you can do your job and preserve your job. The discipline you take to school to pass your exam. Bring that discipline to please God. God bless you.